Productive Dentist Academy podcast network.
Welcome to the Everyday Practices Dental Podcast. I'm Reagan Robertson, and my co-host, Dr. Chad Johnson, Dr. Maggie Augustin, and I are on a mission to share the stories of everyday dentists who generate extraordinary results using practical, proven methods you can take into your own dental practice. If you are ready to reclaim your time so you can focus on great patient care without sacrificing yourself along the way, buckle up and listen in.
We want Smile Advantage just to be the in the background technology, and we really push that. It's your membership, it's your name, it's your code, all that stuff. We just want to be the technology in the background that supports that. So to your point, even how we set up our fee structure or whatever, we don't ever touch your money. Like, we set up your bank account, all your payments goes through our payment processor and our technology, but it goes directly to you. So we don't even have that control. Whereas some of our competitors collect all the money all month long and they kind of hold it and then they give you the rest at the end of the month sort of idea. And not everybody's that same way, but it's that sort of model of it's a lot more like insurance than it is membership. And so this decentralized model of it's you and your relationship with the patient is really obviously where we align with.
Listeners, many of you have been to the PDA workshops, PDA conferences. You might have run across our CEO guest today, Ryan Corby. And I ran across a problem. In my office, I was trying to grow my membership plan, but the more members that you have, the more administrative nightmare that you have. So as biased as I am now a year later, Ryan Corby has helped me organize and get my butt in gear. So my co-host and I, Reagan Robertson and Chad Johnson, yours truly here, are going to interview Ryan to talk through what it looks like for an office to do just that, organize and be more efficient and more productive and collective. I don't know what the best word would be, profitable, because you're letting the computers do the administration on membership plans. And then you also get to use your own plan if you have one in place and just make it more efficient. So Ryan, thank you for joining us, and let's talk about Smile Advantage. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Yeah. Warming up here in Arizona. So shocked back from a little summer vacation, back to reality. But yeah, thanks for the info. Thanks for the intro. And yeah, Smile Advantage really has existed, kind of born out of a necessity. I think most great companies come out of that. Instead of a napkin sketch idea, it's to solve a problem. Right? At least that's what they say in the business books, right? And I've been fortunate to, I'm not a dentist, although I've been accused of it a couple of times, to work with some great dentists and my partners that started Smile Advantage, to really figure out how do we put together a solution that helps dentists. And now membership is sort of what we know as it is now. And that's sort of just bundling some services and putting it together in sort of a nice pricing package that's easy for patients to understand. But ultimately, what we feel like membership is doing under sort of the umbrella of fee-for-service dentistry is just removing barriers to treatment. Really is kind of what our goal is, to create a tool and a platform that helps dentists do more of what they went to dental school to do. And that's to learn how to care for patients and treat patients and provide the health and care that they need. And unfortunately, like many businesses, the business side of it gets in the way. And, we just saw that as a problem with membership, obviously in insurance, and it's easy to jump on the anti-insurance bandwagon. That's not necessarily the flag that we wave. While we agree with that, we do see that there's sort of need for both, but really what we think that membership can do is provide a very strong and leading path for offices that want to minimize or entirely reduce, the insurance dependency.
And as we all know, just fit into any office's existing plan, in the sense that if someone's like, hey, we're heavy PPO, it's like, cool, let's roll. Or if someone said, we don't do any PPO, cool, let's roll, right?
Yep, absolutely. And that's really where we're very heavy in customer service and sort of almost consulting. We don't say that we have a product that we sell. We don't encourage you to sell Smile Advantage plans. We want to take what your plan in place, and we can help you create something, obviously. But we want to build a set of tools or a suite of tools to help you do that. So again, you come up with your plan, your ideas, and we fully customize it, just like you would do with your office. You kind of have your whole flavor with lots of different, these many family members and these many family members. And we really don't try to stuff you into our box of framework of membership. It really just
I loved. Right. So Reagan, before you jump into bigger picture, I have one more weed question. Okay. So I'm just curious, Ryan, after we got organized. You took my existing plan and just made it happen, which is awesome because I'm sure that's a lot more work than if you could just, use a cookie cutter, right? If someone said, I want a specific kind of cookie, as opposed to just using your cookie cutters are easier than making a new tailored cookie. So,
Yeah.
how many people use your cookie cutter version? Let's just say that you said, you know what, we've got a couple different plans. How many like, is it a third of people, 2/3 of people? Like, how many people end up just saying, hey, Ryan, whatever plan you have, let's roll with that, versus we really like our plan, can we use that? Like, what's that ratio look like for you currently?
I would say, it's obviously changed a lot in 5 years as membership has really adopted even more. Memberships have been around for a long time, but as it's become more mainstream in the last 5, 6, 7 years or so, a lot of people or most offices already have some sort of concept of that, and they have something they want to carry off. So we have a few 10, 15% maybe of our clients that come and they say, hey, we're brand new. We don't know what we need to do. Can you just tell us what to do?
Okay.
And we are very quick to say, we're not going to, we'll look at your fee schedule and give you a general idea, but here's some sort of framework or averages, based on your demographic, where you're at. Here's what most offices would do. And there is some calculations. It's funny, we see some offices really get into the weeds with down to the penny of our membership plan should be $43.74. And it's like,
Oh,
I understand that that's 10% of your fee schedule collected, divided by 12 and whatever, but it's like, just make it simple, make it $400 a year or $50 a month or whatever. So the ones that are coming brand new with nothing in place, it's a smaller amount. Most people have an idea already what they want to do, but that's usually what we do because there is a wide range. Are you in New York City? Are you in the middle of Iowa? Are you in Southern California? There is somewhat of a thread there with what your treatment codes are and what your fee schedule is, and we can kind of give some guidance. But at the end of the day, it's really just about making it simple. And I think that's where we do speak into offices quite a bit and say, I know you're a dentist, you really care about the details, but let's just make this simpler for the patients. And some of that comes down to the pricing.
I'm curious, Ryan. You're a fairly new leader for Smile Advantage, and I follow you on LinkedIn, which it's my pleasure to do so. And I'm really curious, what was the moment that kind of maybe shifted your mindset or got you excited about even wanting to lead Smile Advantage?
Mm. That's a great question. I came from sort of the freelancer solopreneur business for a long time and was a videographer and marketer and different things like that. And when I saw the opportunity to grow what we have now with the technology, first never thought in the world I'd be a software developer sort of kind of guy, but always just wanted to fend for myself and come up with a great business that would support my family and do the things we want to do. But then all of a sudden you start seeing people do great and people developing people. And I'm a very much a people person and a community builder. And I actually had a business coach that sort of flipped that switch for me and said, look at building your team in the community of your small business in the same way that you build, our church community and our neighborhood community and my family community. And when I saw that, sort of like that gave me excited about growing a team, because come from small businesses, my dad had a lot of terrible employees, so you just have this mindset of like, deal with employees, deal with them. And as most dental practices know, building teams. But when you have a little spark of somebody going the extra mile and noticing that the team is doing things that allow me to do even more of what I want for my family, and I can kind of develop them, it definitely was more of a community team person building thing. And also you need that to build a company as well. So there was kind of a moment there was like switching, flipping a switch about like, this is my community now. And when I looked at it through that lens, instead of like employees, and good and bad employees come and go, but looking at that, developing, and then seeing the support and what we can collectively do together in our little community, this was pretty exciting. So somewhere along the way that kind of flipped.
I'm curious that I love passion, and I think you're a very passionate individual, and it does take a lot, even though being your own solopreneur is very challenging in its own right. And I know it can get exhausting at times, but that call to serve your community and build something together as a team being very strong. What was that? Maybe it was spoken, maybe it was unspoken. What's the challenge, that you feel like you're really, really solving for? That's beyond efficiency and profits. What gets you up in the morning and makes you say, I really want to make a difference?
Being in small business my whole life, I saw dentistry later. When I first got into dentistry, I was like, oh, medical and big business. And I didn't really realize how most of dentistry is small business, owner, operator, family owned sort of idea. And when I saw that as like, wow, the things that we can do can make a big difference to an owner operator, to a small business, versus just a cog in a giant wheel of corporate. That made a big difference to me. And what we can do for families to impact the business owners. I'm a business sort of guy, so I like to do that and put tools and solutions in place for guys and teams and ladies that own offices and businesses. So that gets me excited to the things that we can build and develop really can make a difference to the bottom line. Now, if I'm making their business work better, then they're able to do their job better, which is to treat patients and sort of back to that full circle of humanity and building community and stuff. So ultimately, it's us having that ability to find a problem, fix something that's going to help them be able to treat their patients better.
So is there a moment when dental practices are dealing with insurance and, struggling under those constraints? Is there a moment that they realize and turn to you guys thinking, wow, this just isn't sustainable? How does your customer show up at your door? Like, what does that look like? How are they?
Fewer of the new dentists coming out of school, I feel like, have that earlier adopted. So whatever sort of newer, modern dental offices, that's definitely well adopted. So they're coming out of school with that in mind, and they're either maybe going fee for service right out of the gate, or they're already looking for those businesses. So we'll kind of set them onto the side. They're kind of already sold. But offices that have been around for a while, they know that insurance is getting difficult for them. And so they're looking for better solutions. Renegotiating fees, all that stuff is still part of the equation. But when they come to us, they've either tried it themselves, like you, and they're kind of either hit a limit, or they're realizing really how much money is falling off the table just from inefficiencies. Or they want to see that or they're seeing other dentists that are using their membership as a revenue generator and as their leading, their leading efforts in their office. And it's not just this like afterthought, like, oh, you don't have anything else? Well, we have this like other thing we offer in the back now.
Right.
Like successful offices are leading with their membership. And if you don't have insurance, that's really the only other way to kind of come to their practice. And so the ones that switch that and say, hey, we're going to lead with our membership now, get it. And so when they come to us, they're either frustrated or they've seen that and they think, how do we do that? How do we get our membership be our leading, product or whatever, if you want to call it that.
Doctor, are you tired of repeating yourself with your team over and over again, and yet you still see treatment walk out the door? If so, you're not alone. The Clinical Calibration Institute, powered by Productive Dentist Academy, is an all-new online platform that unites your team around your philosophy of care, so patients can say yes with confidence and you grow with purpose. Including online curriculum with world-class faculty, monthly live mastermind sessions for each department within your practice, and an online private community, this is your home to grow. Head over to clinicalcalibration.com today to join every member of your team for one very low monthly membership fee. That's clinicalcalibration.com.
So there's ones that, they're just basically inefficient, or they have no idea where to start because it seems overwhelming.
Chad, I have
the third
go
bucket,
ahead.
I'll just throw in, the third bucket in there is that using another membership company, and to, don't need to throw any names out there, but earlier companies did a good job of sort of paving and pioneering the way with the model and putting technology in place. But the pricing models early on take huge advantage of offices. And there's a new way, there's the per patient model, which is kind of our biggest, we fight against, offices think, cool, great, I pay $3 or $4 per patient. That gets a little scary once you hit 100 or 200 patients, and it gets really expensive. So that's really the original reason why we went with our pricing model, is just a fixed fee, no matter how many pay out. And that really incentivizes growth, obviously, and increases your ROI instead of costing more. So offices that were early on that were really successful and you used another competitor that has that pricing model, now they're like, oh crap, this is still going up and up and up. Now they're looking for other alternatives. And so we've worked really hard to figure out an easy transition for them to come to SmileVantage as well.
Yeah, to be fair, my biggest but was that I was concerned that, and maybe paranoid is a better word for it. I don't know if it was based in reality, but that I didn't want a company saying, hey, we'll be in charge of this membership list. Then at some point, if we mess with stuff enough and you don't like it and you want out of this relationship, then what we could do is we've got this list and we can write them and say, hey, who else takes this is this other dentist up the street, and then pull just the same move that Delta does. And it took some of your assuring to be like, well, we don't do that. It's actually not in our contract. So can you kind of expound upon that?
Yeah, that's a really great point. I mean, we want SmileVantage just to be the in the background technology, and we really push that. It's your membership, it's your name, it's your code, all that stuff. We just want to be the technology in the background that supports that. So to your point, even how we set up our our fee structure, whatever, we don't ever touch your money. Like we set up your bank account, all your payments goes through our payment processor and our technology, but it goes directly to you. So we don't even have that control. Whereas some of our competitors collect all the money all month long and they kind of hold it and then they give you the rest at the end of the month sort of idea. And not everybody's that same way, but it's that sort of model of it's a lot more like insurance than it is membership. And so this decentralized model of it's you and your relationship with the patient is really obvious where we align with. So, yeah, we really say it's entirely yours. Of course, because of technology, we have that information, but our agreements and our data protection, all that stuff states that this is yours. And if you want to leave, you can do that. You can take your list, and we would never, never market to your list, do those things. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I forgot that we talked about that early on because that is an important thing.
Regan, I saw your because
Well, I have a curveball.
My curveball, I just heard data, and we've had Brian Laskin on. We've been okay. You're going to talk about that too. Let's talk about data protection and what we've been seeing. Like Heartland just has had a class action filed against them through Ring Central. How has that impacted you at all on the technology side of things? Have you been paying attention to it? Do you feel buttoned up and secure? What are your thoughts around HIPAA compliance and everything that's happening right now?
attention to it.
Yeah. No, you're right. It is very important. And we actually we kind of get hit from two sides. We have the medical, dental HIPAA world, data protection for patients. But then we also, because we live in the payments world, we have PCI compliance and payment data and credit card terms. So it's exponentially more stressful. And as we've built our company and earlier versions of our software, we used other software vendors and other providers and payment partners and things like that. Just for everybody was compliant and it was secured, but there was less control for us to have over it. And as we've moved, especially in the last year or so, to bring our own payment processing in house, our own gateway, and our own security, and a lot of those things under our own control, just for ease and customer service purposes, but also us having more control over that. And I can't speak to all those certifications, all that crap. I just know we're all compliant and PCI compliant and secured. But us doing that ourselves and owning that data and it being super ultra secure has been very important to us for our own butts, but also our clients as well. But then again, because of the patient data with our integration for practice management software, our integration has to be, what do they call it? Tighter than nuts on a new bridge sort of idea with patient compliance. And because of, it's one thing if we're just running payments, but we do a lot of patient communication as well. And that sort of version, I think 3 and 4 of what membership dentistry is going to be is even marketing side of it and other patient engagements and utilization as we monitor patient behavior and stuff like that. Like, how do we just go from signing somebody up to make a payment and paying their bill on a regular month, and then the dental offices treats them and that's it, to how do we spur on more engagement and get them to use their benefits? Early on, I don't know what somebody said, but I repeat it all the time. Insurance is something that you want somebody to sign up for and never use. Membership is the other way around. You want them to sign up for your membership and use it. And the more that they're in your chair, the better for them, the better for you. And so how do we get them to utilize, for example, if somebody signs up for a plan, they should get alerted throughout the year, like a recall message would do, or something like, hey, you're 6 months in, you've only used one of your 2 allotted, cleanings. Why don't you schedule and come in and use it? Or, hey, you had a proposed treatment. Don't forget, you get a 15% discount on this treatment that you need to have done. So that patient engagement, which comes from the PMS integration that we have, sky's the limit. And that's really what the next big phase that we're kind of pushing into. We've got the payment thing figured out, the patient behavior thing, but now how do we encourage that relationship of communication and engagement and utilization between the patient and the practice? And I'm excited that stuff that we're launching in the next year or so to make that even more efficient.
I'm curious. I'm curious about the trends that you're seeing right now. For example, in my little hometown, it seems like our community Facebook page at least once a month has somebody commenting and said, "Hey, can you find a dentist around here? Tell me who takes Delta. We don't know anybody that takes Delta anymore." I rarely see membership programs being talked about, and that drives me crazy because I feel that could be such a wonderful solution for it. When we look at the market nationwide, what are you seeing as far as how much of the market does membership plans impact right now, and where do you see that going?
I mean, we've seen years ago just the idea of non-insurance, concierge medicine, cash pay medicine, everything from med spas to everything else has definitely been adopted. And now that we're in the subscription model, of everything, I think people do come to expect that. Obviously, COVID took a huge turn with people that lost traditional insurance. And so that left people looking for other things. I mean, that was a big sort of wind in the sail of this concept or model as well. Getting it out into the public, we love working with, if we have a dental practice that works with a marketing company, marketing agencies, being marketing guys, love to market memberships because it's a great thing to market and there's a lot of opportunity for it. So it's a low hanging fruit, so to speak, when offices do externally market that. So as far as community awareness, I feel like just neighbors talking to each other, there's still, I think, an awareness issue just between neighbors about that and nextdoor.com sort of idea. So I think there is still some onus on the dental practices in their community and then technology companies like that to get the awareness out there. So as far as trends, I mean, it's definitely going up. I don't see insurance getting any more favorable to the patient or the dentist anytime soon. So
It would have to be the
we don't-
world's biggest PR campaign.
It would, and
I-
and I read a lot of little things here and there that you can see, like insurance companies, CEOs are looking for shifts and they're trying to make it look less like insurance. At the end of the day, they're all getting paid. One of my presentations, I have all the CEOs of the top companies, how much money they're making. They're not giving that up and not giving up easily. And it would take a long time to change that model entirely. So I think there's still a massive opportunity for companies like us and also dentists to take advantage of that. Just because I really don't believe that model of direct relationship cash pay is going anywhere. I feel like we've gone so far out of the other side of the world with insurance, and people are realizing it's terrible, that they want to have just direct care. My wife's a college professor. She has decent insurance. We don't even take advantage of that with our dental because I have a membership with my dentist, and it just removes the pain in the butt for everybody else. So I do really feel like further adoption is just going on and on. I think more people would be aware of it if their dental practice offered it, obviously, which is why we're going to hear support grow that.
I have a question for Chad.
Do it.
I'm curious because, I get hit every single day with lots of requests from business owners. They've got a new software, they've got a new feature, and everything is designed to make my time easier and everything more efficient. I have to have like a decision-making, tree in place in order to figure out what's actually going to really, benefit me. And then there's a point where I think we just have technology overload and it's just too much for the team to try to adopt. Maybe it's too fast or too many things. And I love, Chad, how contrarian you typically are. And I think I was standing with you. If not you, it was two other PDA doctors. It's just Liam.
Contrarian, sorry.
I distinctly remember being at a workshop and a couple of alumni doctors were like, they did this when they go, don't get a membership plan. You can just make your own. You can DIY it. So there's an inflection point when DIYing it becomes too much of a burden and it sends you backwards. So Chad, from your perspective, it sounded like you did do a DIY model for a while. And then there came a point where you were like, you realized, and you're such an engineer too. I know how you do your spreadsheets. So can you walk us through that process of like when you realized this is not beneficial. I need to have a solution in place, like Smile
What
Advantage.
that looked like was I talked with my team about it, and Ryan was very compassionate to my DIYing. Like he was like, "No, I get it." Instead of like, "Oh, well, I don't know if you know this, but this company, we're way better at it, and you're probably royally sucking at it, so you need to give that up." So like he was very amenable to just being like, no, I get it. I mean, like, because here's the fact, Ryan, you'd probably, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you'd probably agree with this. People can DIY it, and that's part of the problem. And and yet, sometimes that can work. What mattered for me was I simply actually asked my team, I was like, do you guys want to give this a try and see if this doesn't help with our administration of it? And Kate on my admin team was like, absolutely. And like, and so basically this is what it came down to. She wanted it. And so I said, let's give it a go. I feel like we could have kept DIYing it fine enough. And Ryan, I think she's right. I mean, in the sense that whenever we sent over our data and stuff, we are probably pretty quick to get it done versus the average office and getting communication and details sent back and forth. But, so we're on the ball about that. But at the same time, I was like, it seems like you've brought it up before, the critical mass idea of if we have 100 people on this, how do we get it to 500? And do we want to be spending time with like doing 50 people, no big deal. So like, I hate to, say this with Ryan on, but if an office has 20 people that they're doing, a program for an in-office, insurance alternative program, 20 people, okay, do that yourself, administrate it, fine. I know Smile Advantage would still win. Like it still is great to consider, but I get it. You have 20 people, fine. Then you grow it to 100, and it's just like, now, are you wanting to pay someone? Maybe you do. I don't, to administrate it. And it's really cool. Then like the transaction was easy. And then I get an email that updates me on, where the dashboard is and everything like that. It's pretty slick. And so for that regard, I think because I was open to what my team wanted to try, that's also what made a big difference for me. It wasn't top down driven. I just said, hey, Dean, was in charge of like looking at the details. So he did a little bit of investigating on the details. He presented it to our management leadership team meeting. And I was like, what do you think, Kate? And she's like, I actually really want to give it a try. And I was like, well, blow me over. I thought maybe she'd be like, nah. And so, but she was like, yeah, I really do. And I was like, okay, then let's do it. And that's all it came down to. Was I was just like, I don't see why we shouldn't give it a try and see how either it grows the membership and or it reduces our headspace for that. That's all. Oh, Regan, let me also let you mull on that and say, Ryan, you wouldn't hear the heart of this, but I want to thank you because our program, we had someone that had a heart attack, and the doctor's protocol, the doctor wanted her to wait 12 months before her next visit. And she was like, okay, but how's that work? Like when I have this membership plan? And I just said, it's fine. We'll just honor it. And it's really cool because it's not hardcore that it's like, sorry, your insurance terminates June 31st. We got to still have a say in just saying, it's no big deal. We'll just honor that. And that latitude is where the personability connects with the human. So like you're working on a side that you don't get to hear some of those stories.
That's awesome.
It is really cool, because like, he's just thinking, what about my human factor that's playing into this, that's going to mess up, and it's just another problem that I have. And it was like, don't worry about it. We'll get you covered. Like, and for her to be like, oh wow, like, okay, out of the 100 things that I'm anxious about in life, this isn't going to be one of them. And that was really cool. So kudos to you. And
that's awesome,
isn't it?
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I think has it's a great usage of that. Like, and I'm thinking, I know exactly what that is. You just change the future charge date and you're extending it or renewing it without the payment. Sure. And that's the stuff that we hear back from people that are coming from another platform, or if you're just using your credit card company to run charges, you don't have that flexibility. So in 2 clicks, she was able to go in there and just future date that membership to show active until she's there, and it sort of tracks the activity. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you could be like my eyes and ears, Ryan, since I'm not a dentist either. But what are some of the questions that you get from doctors who would be really in a great position to take on a membership program? Or what are like maybe 3 things they could look at? Like listeners, if you're listening right now and being like, I don't know if this is for me or not. What's something that people could go and look at to help them decide whether, picking up the phone and making a call to check this out is a good idea?
Lots of things there, and I had a whole bunch of lead magnets going in my head too as we were coming up with questions and stuff. But to the point of like people that have offices that have very few memberships, or they're managing it themselves, and a lot of it does come down to the numbers and hours that payroll hours and things like that. And we always kind of come back and say it only takes missing 1 payment when it should be renewed or not to kind of basically pay for a software. So there's a lot of AI generated stats and stuff like that I can show your ROI and your time well spent and all that stuff very easily. So we have that. If an office has a number of patients, they want to know what their ROI could be or whatever, we can kind of talk through that and sort of help forecast if they're really that interested in the business side of it. It's funny, I feel like more dentists everybody wants to make sure that they're not losing money and they're making more money, but ultimately they want to say what's making this better and easier for our office and patients,
Yes.
and make it working in the background and let us do our job, which is ultimately treat patients. So there's a lot. I mean, and I'm kind of skipping past your question a little bit there, Reagan, but I mean, that's really the lens that we look at everything through, like adjusting the renewal dates and tracking notes and having a note system. Influence from my dentist partner that said, I need to be able to write basically like a chart note in the membership to say, so-and-so had a heart attack. We're prorating her 7 months, or so-and-so went away to college, so we're going to pause their membership or whatever. And that's the stuff, thinking about the heartbeat of a dental practice that we're fortunate that we have really close friends and partners, and my business partners that are dentists. We can get that feedback day to day. Maybe our development cycles are a little slower because we're like, I want to do all this cool, this new stuff, but it's like, oh, but we have an immediate need for this little fix here, so let's do this cool thing. But I mean, I think really that's really core to what we want to do, is build a tool that's going to make most sense for a dentist, our dental practice and dental team, to let them do their job better, which is to treat and care for patients. So as far as like people that are looking, want to talk to us about how we can help or issues that they're thinking about, how much are you spending? I am shocked how many times I meet with, practice owners at a event or whatever, and they say, oh yeah, I have a membership. And I say, how many members do you have? And they're like, I have no idea. I'm like, how do you not know? But what Chad mentions earlier is that our Monday morning huddle report, you get a Monday morning huddle email that tells you how many patients you have, how many are active, what your revenue is, how many expired are. So it's literally a Monday huddle in your inbox, that the team can discuss that. And so we want everybody to know there's no excuse for not knowing how your membership is performing. And so we try to make everybody aware of that. So information about it. So I think how we can help practices the most, if they're curious about that, let's talk about it. Give us some of your ideas. If you're using another system, you want to know how much efficient can it be? Is it worth it or not? I think we spend a lot of time with our clients, and our Shelly on our team is great at that. She's a longtime office manager and spent a lot of time in the trenches with them and knowing that. And she's just a ray of sunshine, obviously. And she can talk through that with practices. And, yes, I'm a tech guy and we're a technology company, but ultimately it's that. And so she speaks that language. So we're open to all kind of conversations, and practices can ask us if they're spending too much money, they're losing too much money or whatever. We'll help you through all those questions.
Major shout out to Shelly Audi. She is incredible. I've never worked directly with her because I'm not in a dental practice, but every time I see her at an event or on a Zoom call, she is exactly that. She is like a ray of sunshine, which, I mean, I'll end up getting out of the product and talk about brand and brand experience, but it's just really.
My coach is best friends with Shelly too, so I know Joanne listens to every episode. My Kansas City crew, Shelly and Joanne.
Well, there's a couple of things that have really surprised me just in the few minutes we've spent together. One, because of Shelly and her disposition and how helpful she is, and in meeting you, and then Chad, hearing that it's customizable and it's essentially white labeled. So it really speaks, it speaks to the practice itself. And so the brand isn't disrupted there in any way, I think is phenomenal. I'm curious, Ryan. I loved Chad's story from the office manager's perspective. So yes, there's always the data, crunching the numbers and doesn't make sense for me to put it in, and what type of potential growth can I get? There's that side of it. But then there's the emotional part of it, which is so important. And especially with AI exploding and will be continuing to explode, the human connection part is big. I'm curious if you've heard other stories from offices who have implemented it and been really successful, what that success looks like to them, or how they've expressed it to you from that emotional or office manager perspective.
I think a lot of offices that have a membership and they're comfortable with it, the level of anxiety of having to communicate with patients, I think, is really just brought down. And if somebody's paying for their membership, let's say it's an existing patient that's on an existing membership, the like, dance around, you need a crown, it's going to cost this much, or this is not included this much. I think a lot of that anxiety is really brought down, for sure, on the staff side and the patient side as well. So when you remove the there's still going to be expense to dentistry, obviously, but I think that the concept of the model of membership is you feel welcome. You're already here. I'm on the team. I'm in the Veranda Dentistry family here, and you're bringing down a lot of anxiety and emotion. Excuse me, between the practice. So I think that gives brings less, less anxiety to the team to have to communicate. So what does that do? That creates a deeper relationship. I think you're removing some of those fears and anxiety from them. And that allows for a deeper emotional connection.
Ryan, what's on the horizon for Smile Advantage the next few months, next year?
We want them to have the ultimate flexibility and get in and do as much as they can and need to do with the platform and the memberships, but we also want it to run as seamless as possible. So a lot of the things that we do, like if you have, your office, Chad, has a lot of, we're just going to pay for one time at 1 year at a time and not be on auto renew.
Yes.
Well, if they ignore it, there's a bunch of things. We figure out a way to sort of allow the patients to renew it. They get a lot of communication and say, oh, I only wanted to pay for 1 year, but I do want to renew it myself. So it's like this pseudo auto renew. And that has, instead of it expiring, the staff has to reach out. They have to run their payment again or whatever else. We've kind of put this middle ground where they're only one time, they're not on auto renew, but they get enough communication that they can auto renew it themselves or they can renew it themselves. We have that built into place. So, that being said, we try to have it be as flexible as possible and customizable, but also no human in the loop is sort of a concept that it can run by itself. So to ask the question of what other things we're working towards, what other ways and problems that we can consolidate some other dashboards is where I was going, to some of these other payment tools into our dashboard, into our platform. So we're actually beta testing right now, whole office payments. So all of the payments that go through your practice can run through our platform. And, we do memberships now, but we're going to have payment plans coming out pretty soon. And that's a $3,000 ortho case, and they can make $100 payments until it's paid off, and then it kills. All office in-office processing with a terminal, tap to pay terminal, and really replace another vendor to come wholehearted, because we have all the infrastructure to do all that stuff. And so now with our PMS integration, this is what we were talking about via email a little bit recently, Chad, about posting the payment back to the ledger, and the integration of the payment activity and the ledger ultimately is wanted and is desired by practices. So we're doing that with memberships. So how can we do that with in-office payments? So we have a whole lot of other payment tools that are kind of coming down the pipeline to just further serve more things that might cut other vendors out and simplify anything payment related within the dental practice.
Ryan, thanks so much for coming on today and kind of talking through your product. I'm a big fan. I know that Maggie is going to be upset that she missed it. I mean, she wrote and said, but she wasn't feeling the hottest. So we'll let her off this time. She had a little bit of PTO built up, so we'll let it go. Yeah.
We'll have to do a part 2 with her on it then. Another episode.
That's right.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for having me on. Like you said, it's a passionate thing. I love working with the offices that are passionate about it. When you ask the question, offices that are kind of fumbled a little bit with memberships, we will work with anybody, but we really love to work with offices that are really excited about the growth and opportunity and the potential for that. We like to work with winners, and we like to work with people that see the opportunity, and then we can sort of fuel that fire, and then they're successful and we're successful, and can help everybody get there.
Well, our podcast is called Everyday Practices Dental Podcast because it's the things that you do every day. And this would be something that people should highly consider implementing, so that way their everyday practices can be focused on their patients and also on alleviating the administrative hassle that the team has. This is a win-win in that regard. So Ryan, I'm a big fan of the product. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Reagan.
Thank you too.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Everyday Practices Podcast. It would mean the world if you can help spread the word by sharing this episode with a fellow dentist and leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. Do you have an extraordinary story you'd like to share or feedback on how we can make this podcast even more awesome? Drop us an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. And don't forget to check out our other podcasts from Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentist.com/podcasts. See you next week.